Everybody, welcome back to the Spurs Day Thursday podcast. Hello, Phil. How are you doing?
Good, mate. How are you? Be positive today, aren't we?
Yeah, I'm all right.
Positive about Tottenham Hotspur.
Yeah. Well, how can you not be positive about the best run football club in the
Oh,
world?
we're going straight there, are we? Straight there.
Is it in the world?
In England.
Is it the world or
In
in Britain?
England.
In England. Okay. Well, that if we still had our way, like a few hundred years ago, it would be the whole world, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
But let me just see. I've got the notes here as to what we have. So, Tottenham have been named England's best run football club by a group championing better governance and sustainability within the game. An analysis of the state of men's football across England by Fair Game, which, I mean, it's probably set up by ENIC, wasn't it? But England by Fair Game, which works with 34 English Football League and non-league clubs, showed 5 Premier League teams to be among the top 10 best run in the country. Fair Game's report analysed data from clubs across the top 7 divisions in England in English football and gave them a score out of 100 based on financial sustainability, good governance, fan engagement and equality standards. Spurs were ranked first in the Fair Game Index with a combined score of 68.2 out of 100. Their position was driven by a particularly high score in equality. Man United came second. Brentford, Fulham and Liverpool are the other Premier League teams to feature in the top 10. I mean, let's get your thoughts on that first of all, mate. What are you saying?
Well, I mean, the obvious thing is that, and I think that I actually just heard the guy speaking who kind of led this report. It's all going to well be in the best run club on certain things, but I'd argue that being a best, again, it's the old talking points of this, isn't it? You're not the best run football club if you don't win anything, because it's a football club. That's what its primary thing should be. So you can, I'm sure that, and they say, what its finances, and you say societal and environment, all these kind of other things that come into it. So yeah, fine, great that we're well run in that regard, but it doesn't really mean anything, does it? What it does mean, I think, in business sense, is that this is a venture worth investing in, which is good, I guess. But does that point to us ever actually winning the league just because we get new investment? Not really. It means that those new investors are just going to get a chunk of the money that we pay into the club from our ticket sales and memberships and all that sort of thing. So yeah, I mean, it's not something that's really kind of going to move the needle at all, is it? We knew we're best run. The fact that Man United are second as well doesn't really do the whole thing justice. As much as, again, there's reasons for it. I don't know. It just all seems a bit, as you say. Would it be surprising if this is run by a branch of ENIC, or that they've paid for it? But yeah, so again, it doesn't. Yeah, fine. I mean, all it does do really, as a fan point of view, is again just open the door for us to be ridiculed, because, like everyone is saying, what a trophy. It's just another instance of something that could get a stick to beat us with, really, isn't it?
On that sort of joke, the apparently so AFC Wimbledon was selected as the top team in League Two in this Fair Game portfolio, and the guy who set up Fair Game, who run this award, is a board member at AFC Wimbledon. So it's quite funny. But look, I mean, Adam Powley, the author, if I'm sure most of you follow him on Twitter or Blue Sky, as he's posted a very good thread on this. They're saying that it's I'm sort of abbreviating this because it's quite a lengthy thread, but he's essentially like these sort of nebulous terms like being well run. It's a virtue and it's not to be sniffed at. But what does it actually mean? Because we may be economically sustainable, which is a good thing, but what would you say that Tottenham are well run in terms of, as he says here, his exact words, not churning from one manager to the next? I mean, that's a fair point. Not phasing out older legacy fans by removing senior citizen tickets. which again is kind of being party to huge inequalities within society and within the game. Not doing deals with, as in his words, right-wing crypto zealots. I'm sure some of you will have seen the news that Kraken, our sleeve sponsor, are big backers of Donald Trump and his campaign in America. And so there's various things he says. Look, I'm not trying to do a let's beat up Enoch thread. They've done lots of good things, but we should always ask questions and want more and want better from the club. He makes a good point towards the end of this, which is economic sustainability, living within your means. Generally a good thing, but it predicates exactly that, staying where you are. Spurs, right or wrong, will always struggle to break through operating under this model. It's not that I'm asking for a Chelsea-like splurge or for us to do a Leeds. Call me naive, but in an era of clubs doped by states and despots, I quite like mine being financially viable off its own back. Just as long as that isn't the tail that wags the dog, this is still supposed to be about football after all. It kind of nails it, doesn't it, really?
Yeah, and I suppose taking the Spurs element out of it, it does draw attention to the fact that to be a successful football club, you probably have to be quite badly run as a business, because you have to kind of overreach, as the guy said there, to break through. You have to kind of overspend. You have to do all these things, because we don't, and we therefore don't break through. I mean, you can say that we're still successful in some regard because of the constant league positions we take up, but we know what it looks like on the pitch, and we know that we never really get close when it comes down to it. We fall apart because we don't have the proper playing infrastructure or the proper footballing infrastructure. I do think that is improved, but yeah, I mean, it's what does that do for? What does it really do for us? Any of this stuff? Nothing really. I mean, again, Spurs are a well-run business. We know that. Great, but then they're not. A football club and a business are two quite different entities, I think, or they should be, in my opinion, right? They should be quite different. They should have different markers for success. But that's how football is now, as we've seen over the last 20 years. They've become investment opportunities as opposed to football clubs, which is the clues in the name. They should be more of a more of an organic sporting institution, but they're not. And that's not about Spurs. That's just the wider state of football, really, isn't it? Right. Yeah. So, do we use this to push on? We might well use this to attract new investors. I'm sure it's music to Levy's ears and whoever is running the approach to other potential investors, that we can add this onto our brochure or whatever, or however it works. So yeah, maybe in that sense we start to kind of bolster our spending power or our PSR power or whatever. But again, these are areas, as football fans who enjoy the actual game, we shouldn't have to really concern ourselves with these things, right?
Yeah. No,
and just a point, actually, one more point I heard, because I just heard the guy talking about this report, the AFC Wimbledon guy who led the thing. And Adam is right about that we can't be sort of seen as a well-run club, given how we treat the seniors and the youth concessions. But apparently, for this, Spurs actually were marked quite down on. So it was taken into consideration how we treat our senior citizens and younger fans, and we still came out on top. So I don't know what that says about the whole thing, but it's just a point worth making, I think.
Some news coming out of The Athletic this morning that Tottenham will no longer be pursuing a number 6, an all-action midfielder, that they've been so impressed with the levels displayed by Lucas Bergvall and Archie Gray, that they feel that the midfield is covered. It is complete. Let's not descend into sort of like a negative rant on this. Number one, let's really talk up Gray and Bergvall, because I've been massively impressed with the pair of them. I would say Bergvall in particular, when he came on in that Leicester game, he didn't seem at all, I'm not saying Gray did, but Bergvall in particular didn't seem at all phased. He didn't seem like an 18-year-old making his Premier League debut. He was hungry to get on the ball, eager to get on the ball, would retain possession very nicely, knock the ball about nicely. Looks like he has a really, really clean, lovely technique. Just looks like a first teamer already. I can take that one on board. He looked brilliant. Archie Gray looked great in pre-season. Probably need to see some more of him. So that it could be worse, right? It could be worse. We could be kind of sitting here without those two, or with two young players who look like they could need a lot more time to settle in and what have you. But I'm not so worried about. I've seen some hesitancy about putting too much pressure on the shoulders of 18-year-olds and all this type of thing. You know, football's a young man's game at the end of the day. You know, all 18-year-olds aren't made equal, right? And some are ready and some aren't. And I wouldn't say that Spurs would be quick to rush, because they haven't been classically quick to rush two teenagers into the team if they didn't think they were ready. We're a very risk-averse club in this respect. So I'm happy with those two, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And you're absolutely right about Bergvall. I mean, people can make the point about Leicester and certainly their midfield not being very good at all, certainly for the most of that game. But it's kind of outside of that, isn't it? As you say, he just looked confident. It kind of, no matter who he was playing against, he didn't look overawed by the situation, regardless of the players he was up against. So, yeah, really good. Gray as well. I think I was actually more. I mean, I think he looked good in pre-season, but he looked quite raw, I think, in pre-season. But I mean, that so as much as how long did he play for? Like 30 minutes or something. That was the best I kind of seen.
And he did get kind of pushed about all over the place, didn't he? In pre-season as well.
But this game, he seemed like he did, improved even from those pre-season games. So yeah, great. I do think there's a kind of a wider point here about us old cynical Spurs fans. We've seen this before, though, haven't we? When it seems like there's talk about we're going to maybe sign someone. João Gomez, let's use him as the example in this case. And then we start hearing things come from the club where it's like, well, actually, we're quite happy with just these youngsters that we've got, so we don't need to kind of sign anyone else. That might be being unfair, but I mean, it's kind of, it just rings the bell of, remember the whole Giovani dos Santos and Fraser Campbell copium when we got rid of Robbie Keane. So there's that. Again, I don't want to sort of be too negative, because let's focus on the positive. We've got two really good young players. My kind of point with this season, and again, this is very much definitely personal to me and my age and how long I've kind of been supporting Spurs and what I've supported Spurs through and my sort of experience. I kind of want them to sort of win now. You know, I've kind of got to the point where let's just win now. It's great having young players and seeing them come through, and good for the future. I would quite like them to actually just do something this season, you know. So that's not to say we can't do that with Gray and Bergvall, because you know, good players. They say age is not wholly that relevant. It's more about experience, I suppose. But yeah, it's I think I still would like a strong sort of number 6 in there to come in.
Yeah, I can't lie. I would as well, but I had my heart set on Gundogan, mate. That was, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
No, he's more of like what, an 8 or something, isn't he? I think if we're breaking it down, being pedantic about it as people like to do at the moment, but a midfielder of a bit of pedigree, a bit of experience behind them, somebody that Bergvall and Gray can learn from. But as was said to me by Spooky, I think actually when I was on his pod, Filthy Shambles, the other day, he was saying, I don't think that's the way Ange Postecoglou operates, though. I kind of don't think he likes younger players picking up habits off of older players. It seems to be that he likes to be the one to tell them what to do, how to play, and what they should be doing in certain situations. So, you know, there might be something in that.
Fair.
Probably.
Ange's thing is it has to come from within you, doesn't it? That's his whole thing. So, I can see that. Yeah, okay. I mean, again, I've got that those as much as that was like a something told to the athletic, and then kind of bleeds into our consciousness. I do feel like that means that we're not going to be signing any more players. Maybe,
I sort of feel that way as well. Maybe like another maybe like another Odobert or something like that. Somebody that
yeah,
comes out of
yeah.
nowhere.
If that, or like I think there was like yeah. So it's suddenly I think part of that story, or kind of the reaction to that story about Spurs being happy with Bergvall and Gray, I think it's now like so Spurs have now sort of turned their attention to a backup keeper where you're like, okay, so this is basically
Would have been good to have brought on a keeper the other night in Leicester, mate. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? I think I saw some tenuous links today. Barcelona linked with, is it either Christensen, that old Chelsea
yeah,
player who now plays at Barcelona?
yeah. I don't know
Which
why we'd.
sort of I haven't put in the running order. I kind of discredited it because I was like, is that? I don't even know if that's a real thing.
I
But
don't. I feel like that's Barcelona just kind of needing to flog some of their better known players with you know.
doesn't feel like something we
I
do,
don't
does
think
it?
so. Yeah, that doesn't fit at all. Go back to Chelsea.
Yeah. Um. Yeah. Interesting. I mean, what would you if you had one position now, looking at the team, looking at the way it's kind of is going into the. I mean, we're already in the season, but you know what I mean. This season comes thick and fast. What do you think we actually need?
I still think we need that six. I think that the central defence. I know. Again, I know we brought in Archie Gray and Bergvall was coming in, but I thought from the offset that felt like it was a big area that we could do with improving. Not necessarily because it'd help us. I mean, it might help us a little bit, but I think the reason we conceded so many goals wasn't necessarily down to a six. But I just feel like if we had sort of an all-action, stronger player in that position, that it would just help the whole team and just be the fulcrum of everything. I feel like that's what we need. Because again, like what we talk about, like Basuma or Bentancur, Sarr to a point, all those players floating around that sort of 6 and 8 position. I don't know. I don't know if I love Sarr, but I feel like the other two, not really convinced that they're it, to be honest. So again, it's such an important part of the pitch in the team. Could do a sort of a nailed on starter, I think.
Some gossip is that Tottenham midfielder Giovani Lo Celso is still attracting a lot of interest from Aston Villa. Real Betis and Roma are also said to have joined the hunt for the Argentinian. Ideally, we get rid of him this summer, right? He's obviously not in Ange's plans anymore. I don't know. It's a real funny relationship he seems to have with this football club. I almost feel like he kind of hates us and
Yeah,
just
it feels like he's stringing us along a little bit as
never
well. Like
fit.
he's just using us because we're a happy medium for him to be able to play for Argentina and not have to be under too much scrutiny at club level. That feels like what it is. Yeah, surely we get rid of him. Surely he won't be here whether or not we sell him or we stick him out on loan. That would be preferable. Should be again. Surely the window won't close with him still being here. Surely not, as you say. He was given another bit of a chance because Andrew just come in and wanted to have a look at everyone, which is fair and correct. But he just doesn't seem that fussed, does he? He has absolutely no profile within the club or with us fans, does he? He's just this strange, even less so than or more so than Ndombele did. He just seems to float around Lo Celso. So yeah, surely we can get rid of him. Roman's an interesting one because I think he did quite well under Mourinho, didn't he? There was a period where he sort of carried us quite a lot. I seem to remember. By period, I mean maybe 6 games or something. But I just remember that being part of the Lo Celso folklore that he had a good period for us, and I think it was under Mourinho, wasn't it? So yeah, so maybe there's something in that.
Yeah, but
But he's
at Gala
got
now, isn't he?
Galatasaray. Yeah, sorry. Send him there then.
Send him
Yeah,
Gala. Probably do all right there as well, wouldn't he? It feels like a sort of move you could see happening actually on deadline day. Just quickly, I guess, because we've seen videos of him training, Wilson Odoi does seem to be kind of properly in the fold at Tottenham. I'm not sure if he has his work permit yet. I understand there were some issues, weren't there, with a work permit for him?
Yeah, initially, but I thought I thought that was going to get solved within like a couple of days. So I really hope that he's going to be involved on Saturday, because I think that it's weird to say that, but it's almost like we already need him, or certainly we already need a player of that profile, right? So yeah, hopefully that's all been sorted. I just assume it had been.
Johnson being Yeah, Football London's reporting that he does seem to be being played in that kind of right winger position in training. That's what they've picked up from it. So
yeah, I still do
you think? I mean, is there any world in which we tuck him straight in? Drop Johnson, drop him in?
No, I think Johnson starts again. I think that he's such an Ange just kind of nailed his colours to the mast with Johnson, hasn't he? Which you can understand, and that's fine. I'm not sort of a massive Johnson hater. I think he's definitely got some way to go before he kind of reaches anywhere close to his potential. So, yeah, I'm all right with kind of us still blooding him a little bit, rather than just getting rid of him, for instance. But yeah, I expect Johnson to start again, with Odoi being the understudy on the right.
Any more, Phil? Anything else on your chest that you want to get on?
No, I don't think so. I suppose like it was really disappointing in the end of the Leicester game, wasn't it? And I think that I don't think there was an overreaction. I certainly felt really kind of disappointed by what I thought was kind of the same old mistakes and the same old things that we hadn't seemed to have dealt with. But I'm a bit more kind of sanguine about it now. So yeah, and I'm looking forward to Saturday as well. So that's a good. I'm not to the point where I'm like, I can't really face it. So yeah, positive. Let's go. Let's go after Everton. We do need to beat Everton though. I know it's second game of the season, but suddenly just because we've got them, Newcastle, and then Arsenal afterwards, it suddenly feels
things start to snowball.
It does. It really does. So yeah. And again, Everton is a club a team that really sort of bossed us, didn't they, sort of last season, certainly away. They seem to kind of have our number quite a bit and started this whole Vicario's a weakling narrative. So a little score to settle there, I think. Hopefully we do it.
COYFS. Let's do it. All right. Thanks so much, Phil. Till next week, mate.
Pleasure.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye.